Thank you. Are there any specific policy issues where you would break with the Democratic Party establishment, either due to your own deeply held beliefs or to your understanding of the needs and interests of District 24's residents? Sam Vega.
I don't have any in mind that I would break with the Democratic establishment. That being said, sometimes I don't think the establishment goes far enough, and I think a lot of times there are compromises where there don't need to be. We can even take, I think it's problematic recently where Pelosi even gave Trump the trade deal. And that's not to say that I would have necessarily not voted for it, but I think there are aspects of, as Jan was just saying earlier, there are things that are right and wrong. And right now we know that Trump is very wrong, and there are lots of problems with his presidency, and the fact that he is a criminal in the White House seems to have not had as much weight as it should have had on the Democrats right now, and I think that that needs to be something that, like, you know, taken into account. But that being said, I don't think there is much that I would disagree with on those policy ideas. It's just a matter of you know, trying to do the right thing all the time, and not just when it's best for, I don't know, the greedy corporations, I guess, right?
John Began.
So I guess it would depend on who we consider establishment, because I think some people agree with this, but others don't. But probably the largest difference that I have with some people in the Democratic Party is when it comes to addressing climate change. I like to look at experts, I like to check out data. One area that I have disagreed with in the past is a push away from nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is the single largest non-carbon emitting source of energy we have in the United States. It provides 2/3 of all non-carbon emitting energy in the United States. So I certainly don't think we need to take that offline before, or while we still have coal plants out there that are emitting not only carbon, but also radiation into the atmosphere. I would also like to invest in, so go to the Department of Energy and invest in next generation nuclear technology. This includes things like molten salt reactors and thorium reactors, which are not only smaller, easier to build, but they're also safer because you can't turn it into a bomb. You don't have plutonium or uranium. This goes into a national security benefit too. The Iran nuclear deal was all centered on the idea that they wanted power plants, but we were worried they'd turn them into bombs. If we invest in this and we have this, the next time somebody comes forward with that, we can say, yes, you can have this one because you can't turn it into a bomb.
Richard Fleming.
Can I get that question one more time, please?
Sure. Are there any specific policy issues where you would break with the Democratic Party establishment, either due to your own deeply held beliefs or to your understanding of the needs and interests of District 24's residents?
I think the party should invest more in climate change. I think they need to invest more in economic incentives for corporations to come up with ideas and ways to carbon scrub. I think leaving it up to Canada. Canada is currently leading us. I think Canada with ExxonMobil, Bill Gates, and a few other business leaders are kind of, I think they invested like 120-something million off in this project. Why can't we do this right here in Texas instead of Texas? I think we need to be doing the same thing. They have constructed some of this with private equity money, these big old devices that just suck the carbon out of the air. And so we need to be incentivizing, and we need to be leading the country in that same technology.
Candace Valenzuela.
So I want to make this abundantly clear, especially for a Republican tracker in the back. I don't want Texas to be California. And I've lived in blue areas and I've suffered there. And you know, there are a couple of reasons why Trump got elected, and I know we can talk about this for days. One of them is going to be bigotry. Full stop. But the other thing, though, is that many workers feel as though they've been left behind. People want a job that pays well, that they can live off of, and there are lots of times that the Democratic Party, and I hate saying this, has compromised on the lives of working families. And I have gone through those struggles. I know the immediacy of the need to be able to pay your bills, to pay your health care, to make sure that your child can get Tamiflu. Something that basic needs to be defended. And if the party is willing to trade away the people of my district, I will stand up for them, full stop.
Jan McDowell.
I think as far as the Democratic Party platform goes, I would say I'm 100% with it. As far as the reality of how things happen on the ground, we come back to money again. Somehow money is always at the root of everything, isn't it? As far as raising money, one of my heroes in 2016 when I was first running was a Republican congressman named David Jolly, who sponsored something called the STOP Act, which would have made it illegal for a sitting member of Congress to directly solicit donations to his campaign. And they tried to put a stop to that dialing for dollars that goes on throughout the legislative session. I think that would be great. I know both Republicans and Democrats in Congress hate that. So that's not the way they act. My whole idea of income is income, where people who are the wealthy, who make the capital gains income, who pay taxes at about half the rate of what's due on ordinary income, plus it doesn't pay into Social Security and Medicare. I'm sure I will get a lot of pushback in Congress from Democrats as well, but the people at large across the country, across parties, I think understand that that's fair.
Kim Olson.
So let me ask a question to the audience. How many of you drove to this event tonight? Okay. So I think we have to not demonize the oil and gas company because you are all complicit in using it, because we have vehicles. But that does not mean we can't bring them to the table to help us solve the issue of what's going on in the oil and gas. To John's point, if we could get China and India to buy what's called the AP1000, which is the new nuclear plants that Westinghouse are doing, we could cut them from burning dirty coal. They're the number one and number two polluters in the world. If we could get the oil and gas companies, because remember y'all, oil and gas is our number one economic driver in this state. And so as Texans representing Texans, we have to be real about that. But we can force oil and gas to recapture what we call the flare-offs. When they are pumping natural gas out, the byproduct is natural gas, and instead of recapturing it, putting it back into some kind of a compressor station to run the sites right there, they just burn it off. And if you fly over the top of us, we look like orange sometimes just all night long. So I think it's important that we pull oil and gas with us in order to solve these issues. And yes, you'll have to legislate some things, and either going to pay exorbitant taxes about it, or they're going to be legislated to change their behavior.